And finally, the first annual edition of Absolute Batman is out. Guys, DC has just released another issue of this tough Batman, and if you think this is just another edition, you're mistaken. What if I told you that this is one of the most brutal stories ever released about this Batman? Dude, it's all out brawling, totally unmissable, and some details about the early years of Absolute Batman's work in Gotham have been revealed. So, without further ado, let's dive into another complete story.
Absolute Batman 2025 Annual is written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson, James Herron, and Meredith McLaren. The colors are by Mike Spicer, David Stewart, and Merritt McLaren. The letters are by Clayton Cowles. We kick off the story in the past with Bruce talking to his dad. The newspaper showed that an extremist had bombed the location. Bruce asked his father why someone would do that, and Thomas just replied that he didn't know. He was just a person and had no idea how to fix the world. But he could do what he was good at, teaching. With every student he knew, he had the chance to make a difference in their lives. That way, one day, his students wouldn't make the same mistakes as the extremists. But what about Bruce? Thomas asked his son what he would do. Fast forward to the present, outside Gotham City, in the outskirts, another Bruce sees multiple people camping out, and then heads to a pawn shop. He was able to pick up modified weapons that were nearly non-lethal. The seller asks what those weapons are for, and Bruce replies they're for his needs. The guy questions the camp nearby. It was made up of people who worked for a big company. 3 months went by. The people stayed, but the companies left the city. The folks who came for a better life were now forgotten. Suddenly, a scream is heard. People wearing pig masks attacked some survivors from the camp. The attackers didn't want immigrants there. People speaking different languages, newcomers in the city. They launch their assault, but Bruce jumps in to help, delivering a solid punch to one of the thugs. Before he could do more, the pawn shop seller attacks him. He warned Bruce not to get involved in the fight. The camp residents flee, but Bruce continues to get beaten by the attackers and their leader named DJ. Before things get worse, a priest appears and asks the attackers to stop. The thugs flee on their motorcycles. Next, Bruce wakes up in the priest's house, feeling a bit battered from the beating. The protagonist sees a framed photo and wonders the person in the photo is the priest. A long time ago, the priest made many friends who fought for peace on an endless journey. Bruce went and asked the priest about the tattoo on one of the attacker's arms. What did it mean? The priest responded that 6 months ago, an extremist arrived in the city. Not much was known about him, except that he was filling the hearts of several men in the city with dark thoughts. The criminals wanted to eliminate all foreigners by any means necessary. Bruce got the message. Something had to be done. Sometimes peace isn't an option. Far away from there, DJ was with his men. The police showed up, but they weren't there to protect anyone. They were joining the thugs instead. The gang members began to beat the former workers. DJ, the leader, emphasized that everything was being done in the name of truth. Power. Pure power. What power? But before he could finish speaking and raise his arm, Batman appeared and broke the leader's arm. The Dark Knight started taking down the supremacists one by one with intense blows. The pawn shop seller was there too, pointing a gun at the head of the kid Bruce saved earlier. Batman didn't hesitate and delivered a massive knee strike to the seller's head. The kid ran away in fear, and Batman grabbed the keys that were on the pawn shop owner's belt. Returning to the leader, the Dark Knight approached DJ, who fired several times at Batman, but Bruce suffered no damage and landed multiple punches to the thug's face. However, just like before, the priest intervened to stop the beating. What was he doing? Batman asks. The priest quickly responds that things couldn't get worse. That wasn't the way to resolve everything, but Batman retorted that this was his way of handling things. The remaining supremacists return to their base, reporting what happened while Batman goes after something more he needed. And that something was a super truck he had ordered. The vehicle powered up, the supremacists could hear it and saw something different. However, they didn't have time. The Batmobile crashed in and destroyed the entire place with people inside. Using his axe, Batman takes down everyone left standing. For him, those people weren't human, but roaches. He then decides to set the racists on fire, burning their symbol and everything they represented. Next, the priest arrives to help those who were injured by Batman. If Batman had his way of dealing with things, the priest had his own. Batman then takes his Batmobile and heads out of the city, recalling his father and how he did good things in his youth, like helping with peace marches alongside the priest. Thomas was also in that framed photo from before. They didn't know what they were doing back then, just like Thomas didn't know what he was doing now. But Bruce's father understood his son's nature. He knew Bruce was a strong kid with a compassionate heart. All he had to do was be himself. No matter what happened, his dad would always be proud of him. And so the story ends with Bruce sitting by the Batmobile, head down, looking at the blood on his hands and reflecting on his actions while remembering his father.
In the next story, we see some of Black Mask's henchmen walking into what looks like a church. They were searching for weapons. One kid seemed to know exactly where they were, helping everyone find what they needed. He stops in front of some photos and many memories flood his mind.
The gang used the stove to heat up oil, along with preparing other weapons. The church belonged to the kid's dad. He had remarried and was turning churches into mansions. The kid thought his dad wasn't around, but the man shows up armed, asking what the kid got himself into. Plus, the owner of the mansion had called the cops. The kid, named Victor, thought his dad was in Florida, but he had returned early. His wife had fallen ill, which left Victor briefly in the dark. His dad wanted to let the kid know, but he didn't know where he was. Victor gets furious because his dad wasn't there for his mom when she passed away. Suddenly, a noise is heard. Batman was there to deal with the members of the Black Mask gang. The man is hit with a hammer. The gang wanted weapons because they needed to face Batman, who was already inside the church. As he descends the stairs, someone had to confront him. The gang leader didn't want to lose against Batman. The gang starts to act, but each of them gets taken down by Batman. The leader reveals himself as the henchman of Black Mask who got burned. He starts shooting like a madman while the kid's dad jumps in front of his son to prevent it from getting hit. Batman confronts the burned leader. He managed to grab Batman by the neck, but the Dark Knight breaking free and snaps the thug's arm.
The other gang members try to hit him with hot oil, but one of them gets burned when Batman is thrown by the gang leader.
And Batman uses another hot pot to throw at the gang leader. The remaining gang members drop the other hot pot and flee the scene.
After that, the leader pulls the pins from 2 grenades. He's going to sacrifice himself to try to stop Batman. The place explodes, but before that, the Dark Knight just runs and jumps, protecting the father and the kid. They both survive. The father also shielded his son. The two embrace beneath the image of Mary in the stained glass of the church as Batman walks away. In the final story, titled Let's Learn About Bats, written by Meredith McLaren, the writer makes a duality between the facts about bats and Batman's actions in real life, like the example of bats' flying abilities and how they share food. In this context, Batman is seen jumping between buildings and donating food to the homeless in the city. In the end, we see how the symbol of the bat grows among the youth, who show up with backpacks, patches, and other items featuring the Batman symbol, indicating that the hero inspires a part of the population. Guys, this annual edition of Absolute Batman was pretty interesting, especially in the first story where we see Batman kicking some extremists' butt. The second story's fun. It focuses more on showing Batman in a more supernatural aura, while the father who owns the place and the son who joined Black Mask's gang are the protagonists. It's a different story. The third one is just a simple, short tale that shows Batman's impact on the population. But honestly, the big draw of the edition is the first story and the discussions it brings. Daniel Warren Johnson's art is incredible. Every punch Batman throws makes you feel the impact. It's really something impressive. At first I thought this story would be controversial, but honestly, I didn't find it to be so. It was brutal, but what we got was Batman fighting against those who were attacking innocent people who ended up homeless in the city. The story makes that very clear. The moment the extremist raises his arm to promote white supremacy and Batman appears to break his arm, you know it's the wrong gesture. These are supremacists committing crimes. The parallel drawn between Batman's actions and the priest's actions connects directly to what his own father Thomas said in the past. We already know how intense and brutal Absolute Batman is, but this story implies that Batman took lives there. He literally sees that he had blood on his hands and needs to reflect on his actions.
Also, the story shows us some elements that complement the beginning of Batman's career, like the moment where he purchased his almost non-lethal weapons and his first encounter with his absolute Batmobile. It's not the Batmobile's first appearance, but here we see sort of the origin story of this version of the Batmobile. So far, we haven't had the conclusion to the Abomination saga against Bane yet, and this annual takes place outside the current saga, serving as sort of a prequel to the first edition of Absolute Batman. Edition 4 already touched on Bruce's past and the early days of his crime fighting as the Caped Crusader, and this annual serves to complement that narrative. It was a good addition. Guys, Absolute Batman is coming soon with a next edition that will finally wrap up the Bane saga, and there's a lot more on the way. A crossover with Wonder Woman, Absolute Joker appearing for the first time, Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, and so much more, all conferred by the writer Scott Snyder himself. And of course, we'll cover all the releases and bring you videos here on the channel. So don't waste any more time and drop your absolute like on the video, your absolute subscription to the channel, and hit that absolute bell, because that's the only way to stay updated on everything happening in the comics, movies, series, everything involving your favorite superheroes. Plus, click the Hype Cure button that should be available to you so this community that loves DC can grow even more. And for those of you who aren't caught up on Absolute Batman, click on that playlist or check out the links that will be in the description and pinned comment. Thanks so much, and see you next time.